My parents threaten, if you don't pay your sister's debt, don't expect us to be there for you. So I looked them in the eye and replied, I've never needed you, and after this, I never will. I'm a 30-year-old male now, and I've been on my own since I was 18. When I say on my own, I mean it. Financially, emotionally, you name it. My parents, let's just say they're not exactly winning any awards for parenting or sibling support. They weren't the kind of parents who cheered you on or made you feel like you were special. Instead, they had this unspoken rule that shaped my entire childhood. My younger sister, Anna, could do no wrong while I was expected to be the responsible one. If Anna messed up, and believe me, she messed up a lot. It was brushed under the rug. She's just sensitive, my mom would say. Or she'll learn eventually, which was code for, let's pretend this never happened and hope she figures it out. Meanwhile, if I so much as stumbled, it was like the sky was falling. Why aren't you trying harder? You need to set a better example for your sister. It didn't matter what I did, it was never enough. I could bring home a report card full of A's and they'd ask why I didn't get an A+ in math. But Anna, she could barely pass. And it was, at least you're doing your best, sweetie. That dynamic didn't stop when we became adults. If anything, it got worse. Anna stayed under my parents' roof until she was in her mid-20s, bouncing from one failed job to the next and always finding some excuse for why it wasn't her fault. Meanwhile, I was out here working 2 part-time jobs to pay my way through college, figuring out how to manage rent and bills on my own. Not once did they offer to help me. Not that I expected them to, but it stung watching them bend over backward for Anna while I was left to fend for myself. Anyway, fast forward to 6 months ago. My mom called me. Now you have to understand, my mom doesn't call just to chat. She doesn't call to check in or say hi. When she calls, it's because she needs something. You know the kind of call I'm talking about. The one that starts with overly sweet small talk, like they're trying to butter you up before dropping the real reason they're calling. That's exactly what happened. She started with, how's work? Are you still at that company? Have you been eating well? It was so out of character that I knew something was coming. My mom doesn't care how I'm eating. She doesn't even know what I do for a living beyond something with computers. The whole conversation felt fake, like she was trying too hard to sound casual. Then she hit me with it. Anna's in trouble. I wasn't surprised. Anna always seems to be in trouble. But I wasn't expecting this. Apparently, Anna had racked up $40,000 in debt. And not the kind of debt you can laugh off as youthful stupidity, like student loans or maxed out credit cards. No, she had borrowed from some seriously shady people, and now they were getting serious about wanting their money back. My mom's voice cracked like she was about to cry, which I'm sure she thought would make me cave. She didn't waste any time piling on the guilt. You've done so well for yourself. You've always been the strong one. Anna's not like you. She needs your help. I sat there for a moment, trying to process what she just said. $40,000. How does someone even manage to rack up that kind of debt? I asked her how it happened, half expecting some ridiculous excuse, and my mom brushed it off. That doesn't matter right now, she said, like I was focusing on the wrong thing. What matters is that she's your sister. Family helps family. That line, family helps family, has been their go-to excuse for years. It's what they said every time they needed me to fix something for Anna, cover for her, or clean up whatever mess she'd made. And every time I'd swallowed my frustration and done what they asked because I didn't want to be the bad guy. But this $40,000, I couldn't do it. Not this time. I told her no straight up. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't bail Anna out of a mess she created. Just like that, the tone of the conversation shifted. My mom went from pitiful to pissed in about 2 seconds flat. You're being selfish, she started to yell. You're abandoning your family when they need you most. She even threw in, do you want her blood on your hands, as if Anna's poor life choices were somehow my responsibility. At that point, I hung up. I couldn't listen to it anymore. My hands were shaking and my chest felt tight, but I knew I'd made the right decision. I've worked too hard to let someone else's bad choices drag me down. Still, the guilt started creeping in almost immediately. My family has a way of twisting things to make me feel like the bad guy, and this time was no different. Even though I said no, I can't shake the feeling that maybe I made the wrong call. Standing up to my family felt like the right thing in the moment, but now I'm stuck wondering if I've just made everything worse. What if they're right? What if I'm being selfish? And honestly, I still don't know what's coming next. That call was just the start, and what happened afterward caught me completely off guard. I have a feeling this isn't over, but I'll fill you all in as things unfold. I'll post an update soon. Update 1. Hey guys. So I thought things might cool down for a bit. Maybe she'd stew for a while and then let it go. Turns out, I was way off. The drama ramped up hard, and honestly, I wasn't ready for it. It's been a total mess, and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with it. Let me break it down. After I hung up on my mom, things went from bad to worse. I knew she wouldn't let it go, but I wasn't prepared for the sheer level of guilt tripping and harassment that followed. My phone was blowing up constantly. First, it was my mom with texts like, "We raised you better than this, and you'll regret turning your back on your family." Then my dad jumped in with his 2 cents, even though he's usually the silent type. His messages were short and to the point, like, "You're better than this," or "Do the right thing." But Anna went all out. She sent me this long, whiny text about how her life was falling apart and how she didn't deserve to be abandoned. She threw in stuff like, "I've always looked up to you, and now you're just leaving me to suffer, and you're rich. It's not like $40,000 would even make a dent for you." That made me laugh. Rich, let me tell you, just because I'm not living paycheck to paycheck doesn't mean I'm swimming in cash. The entitlement in her tone was unbelievable. I didn't reply to any of them. I thought maybe if I ignored it, they'd realize I wasn't going to budge and just let it go. A couple of days later, I got a call from my aunt. She's one of the few family members I actually get along with, so I picked up. She sounded awkward, like she didn't want to be making the call but felt like she had to. She said, "My mom had been telling everyone in the family that I was refusing to help Anna and that I was letting her sink. According to my mom, Anna's life was in danger and I was just standing by watching it happen. My aunt didn't believe all of it, but she wanted to hear my side. I explained the whole situation, including the part where Anna got herself into this mess and expected me to magically fix it. My aunt was shocked but supportive. She told me I wasn't wrong to say no and that Anna needed to face the consequences of her actions. Hearing that helped a little, but the damage was already done. My mom had spread the story far and wide, twisting it to make me look like the villain. I started getting texts from cousins, uncles, and even a couple of old family friends. Most of them were vague, like, "You should really think about what family means, or you'll regret this one day." Some were outright nasty. One of my cousins called me selfish and said I was acting like I was too good for the family. I ignored them all, but the constant barrage was exhausting. And then things escalated. One afternoon, I got a call from my bank. At first, I thought it was a scam, because who actually gets calls from their bank? But the guy on the line explained that someone had tried to access my accounts using fake identification. They flagged it as suspicious because the documents didn't match up. And thankfully, nothing was taken. I immediately knew who was behind it, Anna. It had to be her. She was desperate. And if she was willing to drag the entire family into this, why wouldn't she try to steal from me? I asked the bank for more details, but they couldn't tell me much other than that they'd locked my accounts temporarily as a precaution. I thanked them and hung up, but I was furious. This wasn't just guilt-tripping or emotional manipulation anymore. This was criminal. I need answers, so I'm thinking of confronting Anna directly. What would you guys do if you were in my place? Thanks for sticking around. I'll keep you updated. Update 2. Hey again, y'all. Been waiting for the confrontation news. Sorry for being late. Here's how it went. After I decided to confront Anna, I was still fuming when I pulled up to her apartment later that evening. I hadn't told her I was coming, and honestly, I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. All I knew was that I needed to look her in the eye and hear her admit what she'd done. Maybe a part of me hoped she'd deny it, give me some reason to believe my sister wasn't the type of person who'd stoop this low. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me, but not in a, "What are you doing here" kind of way. It was more like she'd been expecting me to show up eventually. She was wearing sweats, and her hair was a mess like she just rolled out of bed. Not that I cared about her appearance, but it added to the whole vibe of I don't have my life together. "What are you doing here?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe like this was some casual visit. I didn't even bother easing into it. "Did you try to steal from me?" I asked, holding up my phone with the bank alert still on the screen. My voice was probably louder than it needed to be, but I couldn't help it. I was pissed. Her face froze for a second, and I thought, maybe she'll lie. Maybe she'll try to deny it, but no. Instead, she rolled her eyes like I was overreacting and said, "Oh, come on. You weren't going to help me. So what choice did I have? What choice did you have?" I stared at her dumbfounded. "Do you even hear yourself? You tried to steal from me because I wouldn't bail you out of your own mess. That's not just wrong, Anna. That's illegal." She shrugged. Actually shrugged like we were talking about borrowing a sweater or something. "Mom and Dad said you'd come around eventually," she said, crossing her arms. "They told me to push you harder, that you'd cave if I made it serious enough." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. "They encouraged you to do this to commit fraud. Do you even realize how insane that sounds?" "They didn't tell me to commit fraud," she said. "They just said you wouldn't let me sink if you thought I was really in trouble. And guess what? I am in trouble. I don't have anyone else to turn to. I was so angry I could barely think straight. You don't have anyone else to turn to because you've burned every bridge you've ever had," I shouted. "This isn't just about the money, Anna. It's about the fact that you've never taken responsibility for anything in your life. And now you're dragging me into your mess because you're too selfish to deal with the consequences of your own actions." She didn't even flinch. "You're being dramatic," she said, waving me off. "It's not like I actually got anything from you." The bank stopped. "It didn't they? So, what's the big deal?" "The big deal," I said, "is that you tried. The big deal is that you thought you had the right to steal from me just because you're too lazy to clean up your own mess. And the even bigger deal is that Mom and Dad think this is okay." That finally seemed to get under her skin. Her face twisted into this mix of anger and embarrassment. But instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "You think you're so much better than me, don't you?" she spat. "Just because you got your fancy job in your stupid house, you think you can sit there and judge me? Well, guess what, big brother? You wouldn't be where you are without Mom and Dad. They sacrificed everything for us, and this is how you repay them." I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when you're so frustrated you don't know what else to do. "Mom and Dad didn't sacrifice anything for me," I said. "I paid rent at 18. I put myself through college. Every sacrifice they made was for you, Anna. They handed you everything on a silver platter while I was left to figure things out on my own. So don't even try to pull the family loyalty card with me." She didn't have a response to that. Or maybe she did, but she didn't say it out loud. Instead, she just stood there glaring at me like I was the bad guy in all of this. I couldn't take it anymore. You know what I said stepping back toward the door? I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with mom and dad, and I'm done with this entire toxic family dynamic. You want to ruin your life, fine, but you're not taking me down with you. I left before she could say anything else. On the drive home, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard that my knuckles were white. I was angry, sure, but more than that, I was hurt not just by Anna, but by my parents too. How could they think this was okay? How could they justify encouraging her to pull something like this? When I got home, I sat down and made a list of all the things I needed to do to protect myself. I called my bank to double-check that my accounts were secure. I changed all my passwords. I even called a lawyer friend to ask what my options were if Anna tried something like this again. He told me I could press charges if I wanted to, but I wasn't ready to go that far yet. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. But deep down, I knew the truth. No matter what I said or did, Anna wouldn't change. And as long as my parents kept enabling her, she'd never have to. After the confrontation with Anna, I thought things couldn't get worse. I mean, how much lower could they sink? Turns out, I underestimated my family's talent for making bad situations even worse. It started about a week later. My parents showed up at my house. No call, no text, just them standing on my porch like they owned the place. I debated not answering the door, but I figured they'd just keep ringing the bell until I caved. So I opened it. My mom didn't even bother with a greeting. She shoved past me like she was entitled to be there, her face red with anger. My dad followed her inside, looking uncomfortable but clearly there to back her up. I closed the door, took a deep breath, and braced myself. "This has gone far enough," my mom yelled, spinning around to face me. "We need to talk." I crossed my arms. "I think we've already said everything that needs to be said." "No, we haven't," she said. "You need to stop this nonsense and help your sister. She's family. She's your responsibility." I stared at her, absolutely dumbfounded.